Let's jump into the story from The Guardian. Ukraine applies for NATO membership after Russia annexes territory. Volodymyr Zelensky dismisses Moscow's ceremony as a farce and rules out negotiations with Putin. So there you go. There he is. He signed the paperwork. I thought it was funny because, I don't know what that paperwork says. For all I know, it could be an order form for Giordano's or something, But he signed it, and we watched him do it, and he said it was to join NATO. If Ukraine were admitted into NATO right now, we would formally be in World War III.
Correct. Because of Article 5, yes.
What is the Article 5? Is that you got to defend the NATO allies?
Yeah, common defense.
But if they're already at war, then it wouldn't trigger Article 5. As far as
I don't know actually, but I'm pretty sure that effectively that's saying we're at war and that Russia is now at war with the NATO alliance.
It's a mutual alliance pact. So if one member of NATO gets attacked, all of NATO has to come in and protect that one particular country that got attacked.
But I think the way
sorry, go ahead.
Defensive pacts work is if you're not in NATO when you get attacked, you can't be like, "Oops, hey guys, can I join NATO?" In retrospect, no, you weren't in NATO.
Well, people aren't going to let them in. That's the way this whole conundrum gets solved. Is that NATO is not going to admit Ukraine right now.
I lean towards that because it seems absurd you need one NATO member state to be like, nah.
Yeah.
But considering the fact that NATO is basically already involved.
I mean, it's one thing to be already involved, is another thing to be formally at war.
My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is doesn't Article 5 actually say that the attacked nation gets to dictate the terms of the assistance?
I don't know. Let's pull up Article 5 of NATO. We're going to talk about it.
And I could be wrong, I thought it was something like, if France is attacked, then France says, okay, we need help and you guys are going to supply us with this.
This is how World War I got started, was a bunch of defensive pacts.
Well,
we want to avoid that.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say historians reading our current history 100 years from now are going to be like, these idiots didn't figure out from the First World War that they shouldn't have huge alliances and pacts and protecting each other. There was a Second World War and a Third World War, and of course there's that famous Einstein quote about World War III being fought with weapons that are unknown, but World War IV and V being fought with sticks and stones. I'm butchering the quote here, but you get the gist of what I'm saying here. And this is just an atrocious situation that is extremely dangerous for everyone, and it's ridiculous.
You said World War V?
World War IV, World War V. Yeah.
It was like, I know not.
I'll pull it up just.
Because I know not what weapons World War III would be fought with, but I know that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Yes.
That's a good quote.
And then he goes on to say that World War V is going to be lit.
Yeah,
I was like, oh wow, that's a great.
It's a really terrible situation. I mean, first off, it's terrible that we have Russia annexing parts of Ukraine and saying, well, this is now Russia, because that puts Putin in a place where he doesn't have an easy way to back down. I mean,
that's impossible to back down.
Right. He can't back down. He can't. I mean, he can't.
But neither can any other Russian leader if someone were to take over after him.
It's kind of like saying, "This is what I wanted. Now I've got it. So leave me alone."
A little bit, but I mean, he's saying that Ukrainian territory is now Russian territory, and so I mean, it kind of eliminates the possibility of some sort of territorial compromise, because ultimately. You want Russia, you want a negotiated agreement here. I think we all think that's best because we don't want nuclear war.
If Putin is dying, like they say he is, and someone else comes in, that's it. What do you do then? Cede your newly annexed territory back to Ukraine? You don't.
No, they could liberate it.
It's also important to note here that the person that is most likely to take over for Putin is more of a war hawk than he is. We're also in a place where Russia hasn't officially declared war, even though we are in a war. Obviously, he's still calling it a limited military operation. But I do think that this setup could be the larger setup for the use of nuclear weapons, smaller tactical nuclear weapons, but also this could be, with his annexation of 4 new territories and regions today, an excuse to call out for a full all-out war, and then he's going to attack the infrastructure, he's going to get on the energy grid, and then truly we will see a very large escalation. And Will, I agree with you, but I disagree with you when you said, NATO's going to say no, because with how crazy this situation has been already, with how far it has been escalating, who knows if NATO says the situation got even crazier, he used nukes, let's just accept Ukraine right now and just make it official. I see that as a small possibility, but right now unlikely, but who knows how far we're going to go.
think that in the world where Putin actually did use tactical nuclear weapons, I don't know what NATO would do. And I mean, that's a terrifying world.
I don't think they retaliate.
Yeah.
There's a really funny quote that I read. I can't remember who it was from, but they said if Russia were to nuke a NATO member state, NATO would not respond with a nuclear strike against Russia. They said the president would have to be a madman to sacrifice Boston for what was it? What's the Polish city? Poznan. Poznan. Yeah, he said you'd have to be a madman to sacrifice Boston for Poznan.
Well, there's a lot of things that we also have to understand here, especially when it comes to our chain of command, which is in the hands of some very crazy people and incompetent people, and people who, of course, don't have their brains working correctly as well. So all the possibilities are on the table here, and this is why the situation is so dangerous. And it's not just Joe Biden at the helm here. It's individuals like Victoria Nuland, who, of course, have an agenda to push this conflict to the furthest extent that she could possibly see it. The United States is answering today by announcing $12.3 billion additionally to Ukraine as a part of a U.S. government shutdown bill. Biden also just announced new sanctions. Poland is handing out radiation pills. This is crazy. As of course, there's a major battle now happening in Lyman, a major key city that's going to decide this conflict in a very major way within the next coming days. And also there's battles around a Ukrainian power plant. Things are absolutely absurd, and I think they reached a point where I think there's no going back from it, sadly. I wish there was, but this to me is dangerous and extremely horrible for everyone involved here.
So what have you guys done to prepare for nuclear war?
Learn Cyrillic, my man. That's one way to start.
No, I see. But Ian's not telling you. He's saying it's for world peace, but the reality is he thinks Russia's going to win, so he's getting ready.
I want to avoid a conflict at all costs.
No, when we're in the gulags, the actual Russian ones, he's going to be the guy making sure we get food by talking to the guards.
It's like the man in High Castle, but in reverse, right?
Yeah.
Basically, like the Russians have taken over the United States, and Ian's found a position among the occupying government.
I learned that the best way to avoid death and destruction and chaos is diplomacy, so I'm rolling with that one.
What about you, Will? Have you built your underground bunker yet?
No, I haven't done that. I'm still living in Arlington, which seems unwise.
That's like the worst place to be.
Ground zero.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't even think like the world leaders would be there.
No, I think they'll have retired to
Underground.
some bunker in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I don't see World War III here. What were you going to say?
I do have a friend with a nuclear bunker.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
You want
one.
Yeah, nuclear. Just like Bush said it. So I just paid him a visit a couple of weeks ago. So he says, come on over.
I would like to visit just for fun. That'd be cool.
Yeah, if you guys want to come.
I'm looking at the annex.
Shouts out to Joe B. Weeks. He's awesome.
Nice. Well, I'm looking at what actually got annexed. It's four, what is it called, oblasts?
Yeah.
Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Zaporizhzhia.
Kherson.
Kherson.
Crimea. He annexed
French.
Crimea in 2014. But what it does is it takes Highway M14, which is the east-west highway from Russia, and it goes west rather, it also took Highway East 105 and East 97 that go north-south. So he took the east-west highway that connects to these two north-south highways that take you down into Crimea. They want a trade post in Sevastopol. That's the whole point, is to be able to move military and trade stuff into the Mediterranean. At this point, I don't understand why they're not in NATO with us and one of our best trade allies. They have so much resources. They're a federation like the United States. It's a federated group of states.
Well, strategically, geopolitically, China is also emerging as a power that is threatening American hegemony. And if you were calling American foreign policy, I think it would be in the best interest to have good relations with either of those countries in order to make sure that they don't come together. I think we've done the opposite of that, and I think we're creating a situation that truly is highlighting a West versus East situation, which is not beneficial to anyone.
No. It has to be on purpose, I'm in many circumstances well beyond believing in coincidence. And considering what Joe Biden's, how he's been very favorable or deferential to China, this greatly benefits China.
Yeah.
The U.S. and Russia fighting. Mm-hmm. Some have actually argued, I think we were talking about this the other day, that China may have been the one who sabotaged Nord Stream to force Russia and NATO to fight so that they could then make a move on Taiwan.
I could see that. I could see a third parties who wanted to just inflame things further.
Yep.
And that makes sense to me. It makes more sense to me than Russia doing it, which just is completely ridiculous.
But they're saying there are a bunch of articles that it was like people are pushing conspiracy theories that the West destroyed the Nord Stream pipeline.
And they're all citing anonymous government sources saying 100% it was Russia. 100%. I'm like, where's the evidence? Where's the proof? And the person even saying this is not putting their name behind this, a part of the U.S. government intelligence agencies that, of course, everyone's naming as a source. Who's the source?
I tweeted, I said, so let me get this straight. The official narrative is that Russia blew up their own pipeline and not, say, their enemies who they're currently at war with. Like, that's just nuts. If I see two guys and they're screaming at each other and they're like, if I ever see you, I'm going to knock you out. And then the guy is found knocked out outside of the other dude's house. I'm not going to be like, he must have hit himself.
Right. I mean, Biden said he would.
Yeah, I know.
He said it. He's like, oh yeah, we'll make Nord Stream go away. And then when he was like, oh, other guy did that, not me. What?
I love the media. It's maybe this is where it's become so laughably absurd that people just can't accept it anymore.
Yeah, David Frum had a thing. He had a tweet thread where he was talking about how he wrote an article called "Unpatriotic Conservatives" back in 2003 about people who opposed Iraq. Who were correct about that.
Absolutely.
And now he's like, yeah, the unpatriotic conservatives are back. My article aged really well, and it's the people who are, doubting the U.S. intelligence services account that Russia blew up its own pipeline.
Yeah, imagine the hubris.
Right, just the level of, one, you can't be, if you question our intelligence agencies, which have been routinely wrong and also lied to Americans routinely, then you are not patriotic, or you are, it's the number of different, logical leaps you have to take to get to David Frum's reasoning.
I would even push back. I wouldn't say they were wrong. I think they were deliberately lying. I think they had an agenda. They had profits that they wanted to get. They had people that they needed to please. And I think they deliberately said, yeah, they got WMDs when they knew they didn't. As of course, the United States government also had the receipts to the chemical weapons that they were selling to Iraq when Iraq was fighting with Iran. And what did the war in Iraq do? Well, it created ISIS. It allowed Iran to have a larger sphere of influence in the entire Middle East. It allowed, of course, the destruction and the death of what people estimate to be over 1 million people. Why did we do this? WMDs? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm reading a book about the CIA right now, which is actually very good. And the overall lesson of this book so far is that the CIA has a reputation for secrecy and competence, but it's actually just absurdly stupid and has made huge mistakes. I think, early in the Cold War, what they did, their whole plan was we're going to create these little partisan armies in all the communist states. And they just dropped partisans, and refugees. They just dropped them in and were go infiltrate the government. And they all died. All the agents, they just all died. All of them, everywhere. In the Korean War, they dropped a bunch of Koreans into North Korea. All of them captured, killed. Everyone.
Just one comment really quickly. If I was the CIA, I would be also pretending to be really stupid in order to cover for all my illegal actions and horrible crap that I did.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.